in the last stream, we were working on setting up this giant induction matrix to allow us to begin storing all of the power that we're generating with our wind generator powered by our fissile-fueled fission reactor. Now, we didn't really get all that far with this because right now we have, I believe, one induction cell and 3 induction providers. The 3 induction providers allow us to pump a maximum of, I think, 300,000 redstone flux per tick into this induction matrix. However, the 1 induction cell limits the amount of redstone flux that we can actually hold in here to 3.2 billion FE per tick, which, as we learned in the last stream, was only about 10 minutes worth of power if we leave this turbine online, which is not ideal because right now the way that we have this set up, if we leave this online and the turbine can't send its power anywhere, the whole system backs up, the fission reactor melts down, it will explode, and it will also emit radiation in an 8x8 chunk radius around it, which is less than ideal and of course not what we want. So what I've gone ahead and done between streams is I have gone ahead and added a gold bee to this far right apiary here. So we do have 2 gold bees and 2 gold blocks in there now. And so we are slowly but surely starting to make some more gold ingots. I think we're still a little bit away from being able to make our first ultimate induction cell. Yeah, we still need 729 more gold there. However, that bee has only been going for about 5 minutes now. And so we should get that remaining 700 gold fairly quickly because it is in a tier 4 apiary there. We took out the ender pearl bee. The reason we took out the ender pearl bee is because in the newest version of this mod pack, if you're going to run ender comb through the centrifuge, that being this stuff right here, you have to have a glass bottle in the centrifuge because the ender honeycomb has to be able to produce its dragon's breath. We have used this before to get dragon's breath, but in the newest update of the pack, you have to have bottles there. Otherwise, the ender honeycomb just won't process. For example, if I put this in right here, it just clogs up the system and just doesn't work whatsoever. And so we've taken the ender bee out just to make sure that the ender honeycomb doesn't start blocking up our centrifuge going forward. But one thing that is going to start blocking up our centrifuge going forward is the fact that we just have too many bees. We did see at the end of the last stream that because we now have 2 tier 4 apiaries along with 2 tier 1 apiaries, and all of the apiaries are almost full with bees, we were starting to kind of fill up the centrifuge, and we were starting to get a bit of a backlog in this crate here. And so one of the first things that I would like to do in today's stream is I would like to look at getting 1, if not 2 more of these elite centrifuges here, so that we can hopefully start to speed up the rate at which we're processing all of our honeycombs, but also make sure that nothing gets backed up going forward. Now, to do that, we are going to have to once again bust out the energizing orb, this guy right here. And one of the things I would like to do right at the start of today's stream is I would like to look at upgrading our energizing rods so that hopefully we can speed up the rate at which we can make things in the energizing orb. So if we're going to do that, there are 4 more tiers of energizing rod. Right now we have 2 hardened energizing rods. And then the next tiers here are blazing, nihilotic, spirited, and nitro. They're all made in a fairly similar way. They all take the previous tier of energizing rod, and then they craft those with a dielectric casing, a block of quartz, and then 2 capacitors of the next tier. So blazing for the blazing rod, nihilotic for the nihilotic rod, spirited for the spirited rod, and nitro for the nitro rod. Those again are all made in a very similar way. They're made with dielectric paste, a basic capacitor, and then 4 of that tier's crystal. Essentially, chat, all I think we should have to do here is throw down our energizing orb, which for now we'll do right about here. Make sure that we have our energizing rods down. And I think for this, what we'll probably go ahead and do is grab some universal cable, drop that down, for now I guess just like right here. I think it's unlikely that we're going to need more than 2 energizing rods, especially if we get up to some of the really high tiers, like the nitro tier here. So 2 might do just fine. So we can probably get away with just putting a flux point onto that central bit of cable there, like so. Make sure that is connected up to our network. And so now we should be able to craft with this energizing orb. But of course, ideally, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to auto-craft using the energizing orb as well. So if we're going to do that, we're going to have to get a crafter. Thankfully, we do have everything it takes to make a crafter ready to go. And hopefully one of the things we should be able to do by the end of today's stream is teach our system how to craft the crafters. So going forward, we don't have to manually make those. But you may remember that we had a little bit of an issue with this energizing orb when we first started out, because it can take more items than it needs to complete a single craft. So if you want to craft, let's say 10 blazing crystals, by default, the refined storage system will just send 10 blaze rods and the energizing orb will accept 10 blaze rods, but it can only have one in at a time if it's going to actually complete the recipe. Thankfully, there is a way around this. So essentially, all we want to do here is make sure that the crafter is pointing at the energizing orb. We then, of course, want to make sure that our crafter is connected up to our refined storage system, which we should be able to do nice and easily like that. And then inside of the crafter, in the top left, there is a button that toggles the crafter's mode. If we set this to Redstone Pulse Insert Next Set, what that will do is that will only ever insert one recipe's worth of items before it receives a redstone pulse, at which point it will then insert the next recipe's worth of items. So, for example, if we were to head on up here, and let's say we teach our system how to make these blazing crystals, right? So we'll just go over to here, we will click, shift left click, and encode. We can then take that down and throw that into this crafter, and so now our system knows how to make blazing crystals. If we were to go ahead and request just one, it should send a blaze rod over, the energizing rods should latch on, and fairly slowly, it would make us the crystal that we're after. Now, normally, if you were to request, let's say 10, it would put all 10 in at once, but because we've set this to only insert the next craft after it receives a redstone pulse, it should only ever insert one blaze rod at a time. All we have to do now is set things up in such a way that the crafter actually receives a redstone pulse once the craft is done. Thankfully, that shouldn't be too difficult for us to do. I think all we're going to have to do is grab a comparator, which hopefully shouldn't be too difficult for us here. This guy is going to emit a redstone signal when there is an item in the crafter. From there, I also think we're probably going to want to get a repeater. You can make this look a little nicer if you use wireless redstone, which actually might well be worth it because we do have a wireless redstone repeater and a wireless redstone transmitter. So what we could do here is we could get our transmitter, put that down right about here, put down the receiver, let's just say right about here, and then if we shift right click the GPS card onto this wireless redstone receiver and then put the card into the transmitter, what should happen is as soon as an item enters the energizing orb, that's going to trigger this, emitting a redstone signal to the crafter, and then when you take the item out, that's going to disable that redstone signal, thus stopping the signal on the crafter. That will then be interpreted by the crafter as a redstone pulse, and it should therefore insert the next one if there is one to insert, and the craft cycle should continue. So now let's give that a try. If we type in blazing, and let's say we request 2 blazing crystals, start and start, we should see just the one get inserted, which we did, and then once that one is taken out, the next one is inserted. Perfect. Of course, in a normal situation, it would be only extracted once it was done, not manually by me, and of course we do have to set up a system by which it can be extracted. Thankfully, we should just be able to put down an importer here, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't want it there, but I think that the crafter, the energizing orb, I think is smart enough to not let it pull out any other items than the finished product. Really, that only goes on the top, eh? So this does work, which is perfect. We've got the importer pulling out the finished product, and so at this point in time, we should hopefully have enough blazing crystals to begin making the first tier of blazing rod. We just need some more capacitors, which are easy enough. From there, we can craft those into large capacitors, like so. And that should be able to make blazing capacitors. And from there, that should be basically everything that we need in order to make the next tier. If we just go and quickly steal one of these, craft up a block of quartz. I will craft up quite a few blocks of quartz here because we are going to need quite a few of these if we're going to upgrade both of these to the highest tier. And we're also going to need a bit more dielectric casing, which in turn is obviously going to require more dielectric paste. And so what I think we might do right out of the gate here is we might grab a few stacks of coal, quickly head on over to our mana pool, and see if we can't get quite a lot of dielectric paste. Thankfully, the amount of mana required for one dielectric paste is extremely low, And so even though I've just thrown in 3 stacks of coal, I think we should still have more than enough mana left in this mana pool after all 3 stacks there are complete. Beautiful. Okay, so let's head back. Let's see about crafting up a bunch of dielectric casing here. We might need some more iron rods, but thankfully those are also nice and easy for us to make. And now that we do have an iron B working, we've got 73,000 iron, so that is going to be perfectly fine. Let's craft up a bunch of dielectric casing. 16 is probably more than enough. Maybe a little overkill, actually. And then from there, we should be good to go. So let's shift-click this in. We do have to manually place this guy in. But now we have a blazing rod, which is being wirelessly charged, which is a little unnecessary. But this can transfer 300 redstone flux per tick, up from the 120 that the previous tier could. And of course, we do want to upgrade both of these. But we also want to teach our system how to make all of the other crystals, right? We want to teach it how to make Niotic crystals. These are made from diamonds in code. We also want to teach it how to make the spirited crystals, which are made from emeralds. And finally, we want to teach it how to make the nitro crystals, which I believe are made from nether stars. They're made from nether stars, blocks of redstone, and blocks of blazing crystal. Interesting. Okay, we'll encode that. We've got blocks of redstone, so that is fine. We are going to have to teach our system how to make the blocks of blazing crystal, but of course, that is just a regular recipe that we can throw into one of our regular crafters downstairs. So one crafter later, we'll throw that in there. And obviously the rest of these crafts are going to go into this crafter, like so. So quite a while later, and we now have 6 energizing rods of the Niotic variety. Initially, I was just planning on upgrading 2, but they were so slow that I decided to add 4 more, just of the basic tier, to speed the whole thing up. And then as we went on, we just upgraded all of them. So now we have 6 of the Niotic tier. We could begin looking at getting the spirited tier, but if we look at the spirited crystals here, we've made one already. We need 48 if we're going to upgrade all 6 of these to the next tier. And while they're not necessarily slow, they're also not necessarily fast either, and it would take quite a while here if we were going to wait for 48 of those to get crafted. And so for the time being, we're going to cancel that. We're going to go and quickly say hello to this little fellow over here, who is bouncing around for who knows what reason. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to look at teaching our system how to make the centrifuge casing in code. We'll also teach you how to make the elite centrifuge casing, because we also want a good amount of that as well. I don't know if it's necessarily worth teaching our system how to make the controllers, because we only need, at most 2 of those. So we could probably just craft those manually. But if we put the regular centrifuge casing in here, and we put the elite centrifuge casing in over here, what we should then be able to do is just request all of the casing required. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, we need either 36 or 40 casing per centrifuge. So to play it safe, I am going to request 80 of the elite centrifuge casing here. That should give us enough to build 2 more of these elite centrifuges, which I think should be more than enough, at least for the near future, if not the distant future. I think 3 centrifuges is going to last us for quite some time. Thankfully, with this new upgrade, each centrifuge casing is made nice and fast, and they should also very quickly be upgraded to elite casing, because the crafter down here is also nice and fast. Real quick, I will grab some orange dye here using the old pestle and mortar, just to change the color of these crafters to match all the other crafters we have, and we might as well also do it over with this guy. Beautiful. In the time it took us to set up these energizing rods, we have also managed to get enough gold here to where we can now request our first ultimate induction cell, start and start. Not quite sure how long that's going to take to craft, but once we have that crafted, we can put it into our induction matrix and increase the amount of power that that guy can hold up to 1.6 trillion redstone flux from the 3.2 billion that it currently holds. And 80 elite casing later, and we should be pretty much good to go here. So let's see. Do we have what it takes to make 2 more regular centrifuge controllers? I think we definitely should have what it takes here. We'll make 2 more redstone comparators. We are also going to need 2 more regular centrifuges as well, but that is perfectly doable. 1 and 2. From there, we can make 2 of these centrifuge controllers. And from there, we should be able to upgrade those nice and easily to the elite controllers. And at that point, I think we should, chat, have everything that we need in order to make 2 more of these elite centrifuges. And not too long later, we now have 3 elite centrifuges all configured basically in the exact same way. We have all of the stuff from this apiary going to the first centrifuge, all the stuff from this apiary going to the center centrifuge, and all of the stuff from the third apiary going to the third centrifuge, with everything from this kind of fourth apiary here with 2 Bs also going to the middle apiary as they were originally. But other than that, everything is still the same. All the combs are pulled into the item router, down into the crate, into the centrifuge, and then out into the item router once they're processed into materials that we can use, and then they're sent around and deposited into their respective storage drawers. Now, in the time that took to happen, our induction cell has finished crafting, and so we should now be able to head on back down to our induction matrix here and hopefully vastly increase the capacity of this guy. So for now, we'll put this right about here. Obviously, ideally, we want to put even more of these ultimate induction cells into here to really take advantage of this massive amount of space that we have available to us. But for now, in order to get that to work, we are going to have to break and replace one of these blocks here. But we now have a capacity of 1.6 trillion redstone flux. It's going to take about 78 hours to fill this at our current speed. So currently, we're generating 285,000 FE per tick. If we leave this guy online, it will take about 78 hours in order to fill that cube right there. So we can probably fairly safely turn this on. One thing we are going to want to do is we are going to want to grab at least one more, if not a few more, containers for our nuclear waste. Because if we do leave this running for a long period of time, we are going to, I think, fairly quickly fill up the one radioactive waste barrel that we have. So for now, we'll do something like this. Obviously, this is not a permanent solution. The end goal is hopefully going to be to process the nuclear waste into something more usable. But for now, let's go ahead and grab some more of the pressurized cable here and see if we can't get all of these set up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This first one here is 38% full. And so it should take quite a while to fill all of this up. For now, though, we can go ahead and turn this guy on. Beautiful. So we are going to start to slowly but surely fill up our induction matrix. Again, the idea, hopefully, is to get such a large amount of energy storage into this induction matrix to where we can leave that on basically all of the time and never have to worry about it getting filled, because it would take so many, days, if not years, to actually fill it, just because this guy would have so much capacity at that point. For now, though, that is working, which is perfect. And the next thing that I would like to work on here, chat, is I would like to work on trying to automate the production of this guy right here, the creative storage upgrade, which is quite the craft. However, I think it's very doable. For the most part, the craft here is a bunch of emeralds, a bunch of diamonds, a bit of gold, a little bit of iron, and then a ton of wood, right? We need a bunch of sticks. We need a bunch of upgrade templates. These are made from sticks and storage drawers, and the storage drawers are made from chests and wood. So we just need a ton of wood for this. And as luck would have it, a little while back now, we did set up our tree farm. And so as of right now, we have 66,620 oak logs ready to go. And so we should be able, I think, to craft a few of these. The slightly trickier part is going to be just teaching our system to auto-craft this, because to do that, we are going to have to get an ultimate auto-crafting table. So by default, and the version that we have upstairs is the advanced crafting table, I think. Yeah. Each of these tables has an auto version. So the standard version can be used for regular crafting, but the auto version can be used alongside the crafters from Refined Storage to auto craft. And speaking of the crafters from Refined Storage, once we have the ability to auto craft using the auto crafting versions of the advanced crafting table, we are then able to auto craft the crafting of crafters, because the crafter requires machine casing, which is made in one of these extreme extended crafting tables, right? To make this then, we need a couple of things. Thankfully, in the newest version of the Modpack, there is now a recipe for black iron that doesn't involve the alloy kiln. Previously, this was the only way to make black iron. You had to put both iron ingots and black dye into the alloy kiln, and there's no way to automate the alloy kiln, so you had to do this all manually. Thankfully, in the newest version, there is now the Solidification Chamber recipe requiring an iron ingot, a black dye, and a coal with 200 millibuckets of lava to make one black iron ingot. And so I think what we should be able to do here is grab yet another Solidification Chamber. we of course do have a large amount of lava available to us over in this quantum tank here, which I'm going to quickly snag and bring down to this lower level. And essentially, what I think we should be able to do is if we put down the solidification chamber, which I think we'll put down maybe like right here, we'll put the lava behind it. We will have a regular old fluid cable pumping into that, like so. And then much like we've done over here with this solidification chamber, I think really all we should have to do is get an exporter from refined storage, put that down onto the solidification chamber, like so, tell this to export iron, coal, and black dye. And then now, if we hook this up, so long as we can keep the solidification chamber full of these 3 items, they should basically continue to produce black iron. And then from there, what I'm thinking is that we can probably just get another storage drawer. For now, we'll use an oak one here, but we'll probably change the color of this fairly soon to match some of the other drawers that we have. And I did say that about this one, haven't done that yet, but we should do that sooner rather than later. But if we do something like this and like this, what I'm thinking we might do up here is, for the first time in this series, I think we might actually look to downgrade our storage drawers capacity. To do that, we would need one of these guys right here, the storage downgrade, which is nice and easy to make, but essentially that's going to reduce the amount that this drawer can hold from the default 2048 down to just 64. So now you can only put 64 of any given item into here. For example, if we put some oak planks in and we try to put more in, this 65th plank is not going to go in there because this is at its maximum capacity. The reason I'm doing that is just so that we don't end up burning all of our iron, coal, or more importantly, black dye on making black iron, right? Because out of the 3 resources required, the iron, the coal, and the black dye is the one that we currently don't have a large amount of. Thankfully, that is fairly easy for us to fix because we do have access to the RGB. And so what we should be able to do is teach our system how to make black dye using the RGB combs that we have in code. And then from there, if we get a crafting card, which is called a crafting upgrade in this mod pack in refined storage, what this guy is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to tell our exporter to request that the items it's trying to export be crafted if we don't have them. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the crafting upgrade in here, and we're going to put the black dye into here. So now, in here, we've got 10 black dye. What we should see happen is we should see the amount of black dye going up, because what is happening is the exporter is seeing that there is space in here for black dye. It's noticing that we don't have any black dye in the system, and so because we've put this crafting card in there, it is automatically requesting that black dye be crafted using those RGB honeycombs, and then placing that black dye when it's crafted into the solidification chamber. And so at this point, I think all we need to do is get another flux point. We are missing a bit of flux dust here, but thankfully that should be fairly easy for us to rectify with some redstone. Beautiful. So once again, flux point, start and start. I think for the sake of appearance, I might put that underneath the chamber here. Boom, and boom. And so that should be pretty much good to go. All we need to do now is make sure that cable there is set to extract, like so. And we should begin to produce black iron. You do have to make sure these go in the right slots, otherwise it will not work. But now we have black iron automated. And so once again, if we grab just another external storage, we should be able to throw that external storage onto this drawer right here, like so. And that makes the black iron, of course, available to our system to craft. So now we can start looking at crafting up the ultimate auto crafting table, which I think might also be a quest here. Yeah, so we have to make all of the crafting tables and the auto versions of all of these. I think we're going to complete basically almost all of the quests here on this page outside of the creative tab and the quantum compressor. So a lot of these recipes do require the black iron in black iron slate form, which is of course made in the metal press here. And so it might be well worth us finally looking at automating the metal press. So we'll take yet another crafter, and essentially what we should be able to do here is we should be able to put a crafter down like that. We are going to have to hook that up, of course. But essentially all we're going to do is we're going to teach our system how to make the black iron slates by sending black iron to the metal press. So we take that out, we put you in here, and all we have to do then is put an importer on this final chest, and we should be good to go. We are going to have to take that mold out of there, but that is also fine. And then the tricky bit here is just connecting this up to the refined storage system without it looking super janky. Okay, so it's definitely a little bit janky, but it should work. So we have the importer over here, we have the crafter over here. So now if I were to request, let's say 10 black iron slates, we already have 35, but we'll take 10 more. Black iron should be sent, it should be stamped, and it should make its way out. Nice. So we've taught our system how to make those. We could also, while we were at it, actually teach our system how to make steel plates as well, because I know that they are required for the automating of the crafter in code, and we can just throw that into the same crafter over here as well. So let's go ahead then and request maybe like a stack of black iron slates. I don't think we're ever going to be able to request more than a stack at a time because we can only hold a stack downstairs in our storage door. Although I think that the upgrades kind of behave a little weirdly. And what I mean by that is that they behave in a way that makes a good deal of sense. I'm pretty sure that if I were to put an iron upgrade, this storage upgrade tier 2 into here, this upgrade increases the storage by 4 times the base value. I think if I were to put this in, it would increase the amount that can be held up to 4 stacks, whereas normally it would do 4 multiplied by 2048 and would hold like 8,000 items. Now I think it's only going to hold about 240, which I think is probably fine. So it might seem a little weird that we've kind of downgraded it and then upgraded it again, but I think effectively here, we've told our system to hold a maximum of 256 black iron, which I think is probably a good amount. It's still a good deal lower than the 2048 by default, but it's higher than the 64 that you get by default with that downgrade. And then now that we've got a good number of these black iron slates, let's see if we can't make this ultimate auto crafting table. So to make the ultimate auto crafting table, we need 1 ultimate crafting table. That requires 2 elite crafting tables. Each one of those requires 2 advanced crafting tables. So if we need 2 of these, that means we need 4 of these, which means that we need 8 of these. So let's see that if we can't make 8 of these. 8 of these does mean that we're going to need 32 basic component. The luminescence, thankfully, is nice and easy to make, and I am going to make a few stacks of it here because it's needed for basically all of the recipes going forward. Like all of the components and catalysts all require the luminescence there. So we'll do that. We need 32 of these. I don't want to overcraft these because our slates, again, are somewhat limited. So I'll try and craft exactly 32 of those. I'm a fool. We need, I forgot that we need 8 of these basic crafting tables here. So we are going to need quite a bit more. We need another 32 of these just to make all of the basic catalysts required. We need 6 more of these. From there, we should be able to make 6 more of these. So next up, we need the advanced crafting tables. We need 4 of these. So if we're going to make 4 of these, that means that we need 16 advanced components. 16 advanced components plus 8 more over here. So we need 32 of these advanced components. We'll drop those in. We'll craft up 4 of those. Craft up 4 of these. What are we missing here? We're just missing black iron slates. Let's go ahead and request even more of those. Start and start. Once we have 4 of those, I think I might have miscalculated earlier, but then we need 2 of these, which we should now be able to do. 2 of these means 8 elite components. Again, we're going to need 16 because we need double the amount, counting for the elite catalyst there. So let's see if we can't make 16 of these. And we are running a little low on slates, but we managed. From there, we can make 2 of these, and then we can go ahead and upgrade both of those. And then now, if we're going to upgrade to the final ultimate tier here, we need to get just 8 ultimate components. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We're going to craft one of those into the ultimate catalyst. And then that should be everything, I think, for the ultimate crafting table. Nice. So that is the largest crafting table we can get. So now if we wanted to, we could start to manually craft these recipes here. However, I would like to take it one step further and see if we can't get the ultimate auto crafting table. For this, we need 4 black iron, 2 redstone components, which thankfully are fairly easy to make. This redstone ingot here is just iron and redstone, which I'm happy to craft a stack of because we have so much redstone and so much iron. The hard part are these 2 crystalline components, because these are made with crystalline ingots, which are made in the elite crafting table with lapis, diamonds, gold, iron, and nether stars. Thankfully, we should have basically everything we need here in quite large quantities. Thankfully, this does work, so we'll go ahead and take some of those. We can make quite a few of these, actually. We don't need quite this many, but just in the interest of not having to come back here, if we do need more than 4, we'll craft up 24 here. And that should be, I think, basically everything, chat. So let's see. Can we make 2 of these? We totally can. Can we make 2 of these? We totally can. We should have 4 black iron. And so if we once again pick up our ultimate crafting table, boom and boom, we now have an ultimate auto crafting table. And so we should now be able to auto craft with this. So let's bring it downstairs. Let's put him here for now. It's a bit of a janky spot, but I think it should be fine. So we are going to need 1 more crafter. Hopefully, now that we have this crafter, we should be able to teach our system how to craft crafters, because what we should be able to do now is we should be able to head on up to our pattern terminal. We are out of patterns. One thing that somebody did recommend, which is usually always a good idea, is to teach our system how to make patterns, and then to get an exporter, much like we did downstairs. And it looks like I don't have what it takes to make one of those, actually. Oh, no, we do. Never mind. Get an exporter, put one of those onto the pattern grid, like so. Tell it to export patterns. And then again, much like we did downstairs, if we get a crafting upgrade, we can put one of those in here as well. And what our system will do is, again, much like it did before, if we don't have patterns and our system knows how to make patterns, it will make them and put them automatically into the pattern terminal over here, so that this should hopefully automatically fill up with patterns. In typical Isaac fashion, I have once again messed this up by putting dark glass in and not regular glass. So let's fix that up in code. And there we go. That is working. Chat requested that I move the exporter from the back to the left-hand side here, just for symmetry's sake. But there we go. It is working. Beautiful. So let us take a look here at teaching our system how to make crafters. So this is kind of the hard bit, but in code. Now that our system knows how to make steel plates with the metal press, and it knows how to use the auto crafting table, I'm hoping what we should be able to do, and apparently this guy does require power, which is not something I was aware of ahead of time, but is perfectly fine. We can put a flux point on that. No problem. Guess it's going on the top. There we go. So I've been told by chat that there were 3 recipe slots in here. So I think we do have to tell it the recipe ahead of time. So I think for the initial craft here, we are going to have to get 4 steel plates, 4 quartz enriched iron, and 1 stone. Put those in. Now, before the craft finishes here, you do have to shift left click up here. If you do it right, you'll see that it says 1x machine casing now, and the recipe is locked in. I didn't do that the first time, but now that is done. And so hopefully, I don't know if I'm going to have to put an importer on this. I don't know if I do, but let's have a look. If I go and try and request a machine casing, we'll take these out, and we'll try and request a new one, start and start. Does that work? The answer is no. So with the help of chat, it turns out the way this works is you have to have a chest on top of the table, or at least next to the table. It might be able to go on the sides. I'm actually not too sure. But we have ours on top here. You then want to make sure the crafter is pointing at the chest, which is not how that is done. Real quick, I am going to purchase, and by purchase I mean craft, a wrench from Refined Storage so that I can start rotating my crafters here without having to pick them up and place them down, because apparently I cannot place them down the right way the first time to save my life. So this should work. We'll put this recipe back in here and make sure that that is connected up like so. We can then get rid of this guy. And then I believe we also have to get another importer to actually pull the final product out of the crafting table, because right now you'll see it's just kind of sitting there waiting to be pulled out. So if we do something like this, that should hopefully pull the finished machine casing. So now if we go and we request 3 machine casing, start and start. The ingredients are sent to this chest, instantly pulled down into the crafter. The crafter then completes the craft, albeit somewhat slowly. Of course, I did have to remove the flux point to get that chest on top, so now we have to replace it down, let's say right about here. Already connected, and boom, it's auto-crafting the machine casing. And so now we can actually finish this up by teaching our system how to craft the actual crafter itself. And so going forward, should we need any crafters, our system should know how to make every part of this craft here. And so going forward, we should be able to just request the crafting of crafters as opposed to having to manually craft crafters to craft. And so, chat, that takes us on to the final thing that I want to do. And that is, of course, teaching our system how to craft this. So unfortunately, you can't just shift-click the recipe in for this creative storage upgrade because it just puts in 9 of these storage upgrade tier 5s. However, what we can do is if we know the amount required, we can tell it to just send those. So for example, we know we need 1 upgrade template, so we can drag one of those over. We need 8 storage upgrades of the tier 2 variety, so we can drag that over, and then if we click on it and specify 8 and set, that's going to change to 8. We then need 16, I think, tier 3 upgrades. From there, we need 24 of the tier 4 upgrades. And then finally, we need 32 of the highest tier of upgrade. And I think that's everything. From there, we can have that infinite upgrade. We can put this on the output slot, create. And if we send that down and put it into the crafter, once we've taught it how to make everything else, that recipe should hopefully work. Of course, we are going to have to teach the actual autocrafter itself how to do that. But we'll come back to that in a minute. So, now we need to teach our system how to make all of those crafts, right? So first things first, I actually don't think our system knows how to make sticks just yet, which is unfortunate. Thankfully, that's a very easy fix. We do have a lot of sticks, but just on the off chance that we need more than what we have, we will encode that recipe right there. Does our system know how to make planks? It does. Beautiful. So that is fine. Let's clear out a little bit of inventory space here, chat, because we're going to need it. From there, to make the storage upgrade tier 2, our system needs to know how to make the upgrade templates. For that, it does need to know how to make some kind of drawer. And for that, it needs to know how to make a regular old Minecraft chest. So, Minecraft chest, we'll teach it the 4 chest recipe, I think. And I will quickly tweak that to use regular oak logs, just to make sure we don't run into any issues there. From there, let's teach it how to make a regular oak drawer, like so, using oak planks and a regular chest. That is perfect. From there, upgrade template. Let's teach it how to make this guy right here using regular sticks and a regular 1x1 oak drawer in code. And then we want to look at making the tier 2 upgrade in code, the tier 3 upgrade in code, the tier 4 upgrade in code, and of course the tier 5 upgrade in code. And that should be basically everything. Now, I don't think we're going to quite have enough crafting space down here. We've got a little bit. But thankfully, we can, of course, now go and request a crafter. Start and start. Hopefully that's not going to take too long. It isn't. Perfect. We'll drop you down right about there. Use our new wrench to rotate that to the orientation that we desire, even though it doesn't really matter which way you place these down. Boom. And then we should probably also get some speed upgrades here. And if we have the sugarcane, which we do, it might not be the worst idea for us to just teach our system how to make these. So should we need any more in the future, and again, let's quickly replace that glass, Isaac, before you have to do this all over again. In code, and I'm pretty sure I did this one wrong as well. I didn't. Perfect. And in code, there we go. So now our system should be able to make its own speed upgrades. We'll put those in there. Speed upgrade, let's go ahead and request, let's say 16 of those. Start and start. We can then begin by putting these in here to speed up the making of speed upgrades. Okay, so all of these now have 4 speed upgrades in them, so they're all nice and fast. And so I think we should now have everything we need to request our first storage upgrade. And by that, I mean we don't quite have everything because, of course, in order to actually start this, we have to request everything to make the first one. So 32 of those. Look how fast it is. Beautiful. I then think it was 24 of these, along with some amount of these. It was less than 30. And then we also needed some of these as well. I think it was 8. Beautiful. And they craft really quick as well. So hopefully, if we head over to slot 2, can we shift click this in? We can. We're just missing the upgrade template. Beautiful. So boom, and shift L to save, or shift left click, sorry, to save. That is now saved in that slot. We have our first infinite storage upgrade. And so now going forward, if we want, it's actually called the creative storage upgrade, but now going forward, let's say we want 10 of these, start and start, it should get the job done. Like the crafting should begin. Hopefully the things are crafted. Look at that. They're getting placed in one by one into the crafting grid. And we are automatically going to make 10 creative upgrades. But that is working. We are making creative storage upgrades. And so now we can effectively use these in place of void upgrades, right? Up until now, we've been putting void upgrades into here, but with these creative storage upgrades, and, let's put our first one on redstone, I guess. We've got so much redstone coming in. In fact, I think we're probably getting close to maxing out this compacting drawer here, but effectively, this takes our maximum storage up to 2-point-something billion. It takes it up to an insane number that we're almost certainly never going to reach, and so we can effectively start filling our drawers up with these creative storage upgrades, essentially giving us infinite storage for all of our drawers. So I think between streams, I will look at seeing if we can't auto-craft, or see if I can't request a creative storage upgrade for basically all of our drawers. That really shouldn't be too expensive and should definitely be something that we can afford to do at this point. And then when we come back for the next stream, I think we will start looking at processing. We'll look at doing a few things, actually. Hopefully, by the time we come back next time, we're going to be able to make some more of these induction cells and make our induction matrix bigger so we can leave our turbine running all of the time. Again, if we're going to leave our turbine running all the time, we are going to have to start processing that nuclear waste in some form. So I think we will look at doing that in the next stream. But we should have a lot more gold thanks to our gold bee. So we should be able to make that induction matrix bigger as well. We'll also probably look at upgrading some of these last few apiaries here to tier 4 so we can start getting all these resources nice and fast as well. And we might also look at making the mecha suit armor, which does in turn require the processed nuclear waste as well. Like we need to process the nuclear waste to get that mecha suit armor, which is probably what we'll work on in the next time. And if we have time, we might even look at making the angel ring as well to give us full creative mode flight so we can finally ditch this jetpack, which, whilst good, does have this kind of slow drifting fall to it, which I know the Twitch chat has been shouting at me about for quite some time. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's stream there.